Hello friends, thanks for joining me on this fantastic episode. I'm really excited for this. This is going to be my second omnibus now in my collection, and for me, it is probably one of the highest tier omnibus I could get for various reasons. But this is going to be the X-Men Blue and Gold Omnibus. There was a few releases of these stories in previous omnibuses, and I think they were broke down into Omnibus Book 1 and Omnibus Book 2. And this is a new collection where it completes everything. So the majority of the artwork in this book is done by Jim Lee, and the story by Chris Claremont. And they were lightning in a bottle together. This is an absolutely gorgeous book. And if you're a fan of X-Men, especially back in the 90s, this is when comic books really grabbed me. As a kid, I collected comics in the 80s and stuff, but it was more casual and leisure. But as it went on for me, and the stories and the artwork started to really hit, X-Men was one of these titles that really made me into a collector, and I started collecting the run of this story arc. So if you're not familiar, the Blue and Gold, what happens is at this point they have quite a bit of X-Men, an X-Men roster, and Professor X, he splits the X-Men up into two teams. The blue team is led by Cyclops, and the gold team is led by Storm. They end up doing many battles and stuff, but some of the key villains in the story is Magneto, Mojo, the Brood, and Strife. It crosses over. Rob Liefeld with the X-Force is in this as well. They have some first appearances in these books as well. So Bishop, his first appearance is with Uncanny X-Men issue number 282 in 1991, and then we have Omega Red, who was in the X-Men number 2, released in 1992. I guess, kind of getting into it, it's been a long time since I read it, and I definitely didn't really read it in sequence. And with this, there were so many crossovers in the story with different other books that maybe in those days, you didn't have the internet and stuff, so it was very easy to miss some key issues in the story back in those days. But the original run of this was released in the early 90s by Marvel, and it features some of the main storylines are Bishop's Crossing, which is the first appearance of Bishop, and then it leads into the Executioner song. So this is a big book, so it's going to take us a little bit to get through some of this. And the thing I love about these omnibus is that it adds not only just the X-Men issues, but all the annuals, all the other crossovers, all the special artwork that they did for promotion, and like the old comic guide, The Wizard and stuff. And one thing that I remember about collecting for when the X-Men, the Uncanny X-Men, and Jim Lee, they rebooted it and they just went back to X-Men number 1. Marvel did that also with Spider-Man, with the Amazing Spider-Man, and then they took the strong artist of Tom McFarlane and rebooted it with Spider-Man number 1, started a whole new book. And they did the same thing with the X-Men. Very similar because of the success of Jim Lee's artwork and Chris Claremont's story writing. So when they did X-Men number 1, there wasn't much in those days of variant comics, but Jim Lee, there was I think a 5 comic spread, and they all had different covers, and if you piece them together side by side, they formed a big layout and made a big photograph of the X-Men attacking and going after Magneto. and it was unheard of. So as a kid, you wanted to collect all the covers. They were all incredible. So with that being said, Guinness Book of Records has declared that X-Men #1 is the highest selling comic in history, selling over 8 million copies. Much to do because of the variants. So as a kid, you didn't buy just one comic. You probably, if you could, bought them all. So you're buying 5 or 6 comics for one issue of #1 to collect them all. So anyway, let's get into X-Men Blue and Gold Omnibus. All right, I am so excited, and I haven't reread this yet. I am going to really get into read. It's a big read. So with that, let's take a look. This book is heavy. It's heavy. I'm glad to put it down. And then here on the back, you can see all the comics that it collects in this massive omnibus. Everything from X-Men in their annuals, Uncanny X-Men in their annuals, Ghost Rider, X-Factor, X-Force, Strike File, the X-Factor annual, X-Force annual, Marvel Presents, and that's pretty much it. And then this here is the actual omnibus book. I like how everything, the color scheme is blue and gold. You got Mr. Sinister there, Mojo over there, Sabretooth, and then you got Magneto, Juggernaut's hand, and then you have a Sentinel and the Brotherhood of Mutants there. All right, let's dive in. Very awesome pose of Magneto. I think Jim Lee is, without a doubt, the my favorite artist to ever do X-Men. So this here is the comic I was referring to, X-Men #1 with its variants. And you can see how they line up here. And they continue to form, and you put them all together and they form a massive photo where they all, and there it is there. There was an issue where they had all the centerfolds all together in one package. It was very exciting. And we started off here with Magneto. Just look at the artwork. Nick Fury there. And this is the X-Men in the Danger Room. They're doing some training, I believe, here. Angel, who becomes Archangel. Storm, Iceman. Rogue. Professor X, Jean Grey. I just can't get enough of these comics. Look at Colossus there. Amazing. Wolverine, Gambit. Gambit definitely became one of my favorite X-Men in this time too. Love Gambit. And I love how he's always trying to go after, Rogue there. And she's got the mutant powers to absorb their power, which is essentially takes the life force. So, dating her is quite a gamble, but Gambit doesn't seem to pay much attention to it. Pursues her anyway. Wolverine. Bang, Charlie, you're dead. Yeah. He definitely has his own way, doesn't he? Wolverine. Always kind of an outsider, even with his own group. Magneto. This is a real big book, so I don't necessarily think I'm going to go through page by page with everything, because I'd be here for quite some time. But the action is just amazing. Look at the layout. Wolverine coming after Magneto with his adamantium claws. Cyclops. I mean, they're going full on, and Magneto's doing everything he can just to keep them at bay. But I gotta say, you know, he's powerful enough that he can actually hold his own against the X-Men. So this would be one of the teams going after Magneto, where the other team goes off to do other tasks. And there's the blue team. Cyclops. Yeah, just incredible. Look at these layouts, you know, Sentinel, Mr. Sinister, Dark Phoenix, Loki, Toad, yeah, Sabretooth. And these are from the swimsuit issues. I remember way back. These are some of the advertisements they had. And that's why I love these omnibus. Look at this. All these little, like, as you go through it, you just see all these gorgeous little extras. As far as I know, they always would put those in the end, but they kind of put them in the middle. Because here we get into X-Men issue number 2. Magneto doing everything he can to fight off the X-Men. I really like some of these characters. Like, as an example, Magneto is without a doubt one of my favorite Marvel villains. I love that he's not really evil. He just has a really different point of view. And it just turns out he just doesn't side with humans. Can't imagine why. Whereas Professor Xavier, he tries to be inclusive of everybody, the mutants and the humans living together. And Magneto realized that the divide is just too great, and trying to change the minds of humans. When you look back on history, it hasn't really gone well. So Magneto looks out for his own with the mutants. Just amazing. Look at this. I really can't wait to start reading it and get right back into it. It's been many, many, many years since I think I even looked at some of these pages. Yeah, just incredible. And I gotta say, you know, I haven't... back in the 90s, I was more of a Marvel fan. I collected more Marvel than any other book. Like, I didn't really get into DC too much. I was into Batman, of course, but wasn't really a Superman fan. The action was where Marvel was. All the artists, all the stories, everything was just Marvel could... Well, they were on top in these days. And X-Men especially. But kind of when a lot of these, you know, kind of getting later into the 90s, when a lot of these artists left Marvel, as we know, and some of them went to form their own company with Image, Jim Lee being one of them. You know, I find Marvel lost a lot of their spark after that. And it just wasn't the same. And the artwork that was coming after some of these incredible artists was just not up to par for me. You go from greatness to mediocre. And so I kind of started to lose interest in Marvel. And this is the first appearance of Omega Red. And so I would start exploring other comic book companies. Like, I started getting more into Dark Horse. I love the Predator and Aliens crossovers that they did. And I started to get more into DC comics at that time, later on in life. And I would say probably the last several years I've been more into DC comics than Marvel. And I still kind of am that way. But with some of these omnibus that collect the comics that I am very fond of, it's definitely got me kind of like a renewed interest in Marvel, and especially in X-Men. And now that they got a new X-Men movie coming out with the Avengers, the hype is getting really exciting to be an X-Men fan again. And having just got this book only a couple days ago, I could say that I'm excited. I'm ready to get back into Marvel again. More of the comics. I love the movies. The movies were fantastic. All the Avengers movies and stuff. But as you can see, this is a really big book, so we can go through it all. I don't really remember much of the story to kind of recap it. I don't want to spoil anything, because it's kind of like you might be revisiting this for the first time, or after many, many years of being away, like myself. But the artwork just goes on and on. Just incredible. One thing I always had a hard time with was that when you get into a book and you really like the story by the writer or the artist, or both, if you're lucky, and they have a top shelf artist and writer, but somewhere through the comic book, people leave. The artist might leave to go on to other projects, and then the consistency changes. And I had a hard time when artists would leave and new artists would come in trying to take over the role. And at least with this, Jim Lee and Chris Claremont were consistently together through almost the whole duration of this story. And I can't imagine how much time that was for them, because this was a massive project. And I remember how like dark these stories were, and like especially this comic cover. This cover was done by Weiss, and I absolutely love his artwork as well. I think he complemented Jim Lee's style very much, and for the longest time I probably didn't even know there was a difference back when I was younger. But there's something about this particular cover that ingrained in my mind over the years, and when I thought about trying to collect single issues of this, I was like really excited for some of those X-Men, because I used to sit and draw religiously from some of these books. So I have a real nostalgia and intimacy with these stories and these comics that I don't with others. You know, like the Sentinels here, and just amazing. I could go on and gush about it, but and again, this is the early 90s, so like everything was still hand drawn, hand colored, and it adds to the whole appeal for me. I do appreciate like the new comics that are drawn on computers and they're colored by computers and stuff like that, cel shaded or whatever. But there's just something about First Appearance of Bishop. There's just something about these days, these older days, when everything was still kind of done by hand. Yeah, I just absolutely love this book. To say I'm excited to have this in my collection is an understatement. Is an understatement. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah, Bishop there. Amazing. That's what to be perfectly honest, I don't think I've really seen much of Bishop after this story. I don't. You don't see much of him as far as I've noticed. Or Omega Red, to be honest. I don't know. I haven't seen Bishop with any of the other comics. I could be wrong, of course, because it's been a while since I really followed X-Men. But what an awesome character. I can't wait to kind of reread his origin and whatnot. This book is huge. It was actually hard to hold up. It's quite heavy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just to even, like, if I was to try and recollect all these as single issues, I'm sure it'd be terribly, terribly expensive. And probably terribly difficult to track them all down. Again, the Omnibus, it's got everything there you need. Everything and then some. Yeah. I'm just going to flip through a little bit because this book is just so massive. We'll try and just maybe keep it to the covers or... Yeah. Just incredible. Colossus and Bishop go at it. See, some of these comics I don't see. I don't even recognize that cover. Mojo. Yeah, so there's a different artist. I'm not sure who that artist is. Dazzler. Oh, it's been a while since I've seen Dazzler. Long Shot. Oh, wow. Isn't this something, eh? X-Force. So yeah, this is the Rob Liefeld artwork and part of his story with his crossover. Man, it'd be cool to do an X-Force movie with the X-Men. Pretty sweet. Mojo. Bishop. Ghost Rider. Just Jim Lee has such an incredible way of posing. He's just got so much imagination. I got to say, I think without a doubt, he's probably my absolute favorite comic book artist. I think I have absolutely nothing to say bad about his artwork. I think it's just perfect. The way he draws the people, everything is just everything is just incredible. He is perfection in my eyes. I just love his artwork. Yes, I do remember that cover. Wow. So I'm going to kind of skip to the end a little bit, and it just shows a lot of the covers by themselves, stand alone, and which is, of course, the cover of the Omnibus there. But I absolutely, that's one of my favorite covers, too. I just love it. Oh, wow. And I know too in the last couple of years they've done a lot of homage to the Jim Lee cover. I know Todd McFarlane kind of did his own reimagination with his Spawn comics. And that was really cool to see Todd McFarlane kind of copy the same idea Jim Lee did with the X-Men. Yeah, so these are all the kind of, these are all the comics here that you never would have, might not have necessarily, no, these are the cards, sorry, for the Executioner song. But a lot of these comics here, like, I never would have known the annuals and stuff like that to collect. Oh, look at the black and white. Look at that, just incredible. Yeah, see the old wizard. Just like McFarlane's Spider-Man was featured in this issue number 1. Another one by Weiss. Just love. I remember all these. I bought all these Wizard comics too. It was a price guide, as well as in the very back it was a price guide of what the comics were going for at the time. And then the first half was all like stories and artwork like this. So you had a lot of, this is the swimsuit issue. They would do things like that. Interviews with some of the artists. Marvel. So you get to see your favorite, X-Men characters kind of more relaxed. A little bit more playful. They're not in battle. They're doing their downtime. Wow, just amazing. Oh wow, look at these. And that's the thing too, is like there's so much artwork in here that like some of this stuff, little sketches, little obese Wolverine. Drank a little bit too many beers, smoked a little too many cigarettes. But I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Well, that's it, my friends. I really hope that you get this book. If you're an X-Men fan, I highly recommend that you get this. You can't do wrong. I mean, this is lightning in a bottle. Top-tier storytelling, top-tier artwork. This was a very ambitious project for Marvel, doing crossovers and putting them all together, and yeah, quite amazing. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up now. This is a big book, and this is probably going to be a long video. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you've never seen this book, it's all over YouTube already. I mean, this is not the first video showcasing the Blue and Gold Omnibus, but if you're seeing it for the first time because of my video, I appreciate that, and I hope it helps. So with that, let's kind of wrap it up, and I just want to say thanks for watching, my friends. Strife File out.